If you've been out of the loop with this week's stories, then this video has got you covered. We've gathered captivating tales that will ignite your sense of wonder and provoke thought. Whether you're engaged in household chores like cleaning, doing dishes, or folding laundry, or simply looking to unwind, this video serves as the perfect background companion. Remember to show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest stories. Now let's cut the small talk and immerse ourselves in these intriguing videos. Story 1. I'm not a teacher, but I'm currently a student in Australia. My high school is a very well-off private high school, and so in year 10, sophomore year, the school sends the entire year on various overseas tours to different countries in Southeast Asia and Central Australia. I went to Thailand, but one of my friends went to Cambodia. When they were leaving to go to the airport to head home, he went to the toilet before leaving the hotel. Anyway, the teacher and all the students forgot about him and left him before he came back. He was gone for like 3 minutes. So they all left for the airport, and now my friend is stuck in a hotel in a country where he does not speak the language. Well, instead of panic, he manages to get himself a tuk-tuk, I think that's how you spell it. No, it's not. And manages to find his own way to the airport. In the meantime, the teachers and all the students only realize he's missing when they're 3/4 of the way to the airport. They went in 2 separate groups, and each group thought he was with the other group. When they do figure it out, everyone is freaking the freak out. Once they arrive at the airport, however, who do they find waiting for them but my friend? Not only did he figure out a way to get to the airport on his own, but he managed to beat them there by like 10 to 20 minutes. This all happened almost exactly 2 years ago. Another story from a different high school in my area. This school has an annual trip to Thailand for the same reason my school does, except they do it in year 9, freshman year, and only have Thailand as an option. While on the trip, a bunch of girls decided to sneak out at night and get tattoos. Needless to say, they were caught and were immediately sent home. I'd also like to note this happened many, many years ago, and that the high school involved is a fantastic high school, and these were just a small group of unusually stupid people. That high school is awesome, and if I were not at my school, I'd be going there. So this first kid basically pulled a Home Alone and just was able to show up before they did. I'm impressed. And by the way, you don't spell tuk-tuk T-O-O-K. It's T-U-K usually. And also for this second one, also Thailand, I would be lucky if I was in high school and we had any kind of trip overseas at all. We were lucky to be able to get a trip to like the mountains when it was snowing for like a ski trip, which I never went on. I didn't experience snow till I was like, 15 or so? That's what I get for growing up in California. Story 2. Not a teacher, but a ski instructor. Many of my younger students will come from public schools on field trips. My boss always says, get them away from the bunny hill, the easiest hill, to go on the chairlift, so the parents and teachers don't see them fall. My worst story was when I had a group on the younger side, 6 to 10. 6? The youngest girl had a panic attack on the chairlift. Luckily, I was able to get her to calm down till the top of the hill. By the time we finally got to the top of the chairlift, she had already wet herself. So I had to get her and the rest of the group down to chalet and find my boss with an army of children. I could not tell them the reason we were going back, because it could hurt their feelings. Mind you, she was scream-crying the whole time. It took 30 minutes to get down the hill since none of the kids had skied before, and my junior ski instructor did jack squat. I would have sent him down the hill with her, but he didn't listen to a word I told him, and I didn't want a missing child case. all the other kids were complaining that they have to go back and stop skiing. And trust me, there's nothing more fun than explaining to your boss that there was an issue like that. 6? On a chairlift? How high up was this? I mean, I have to admit, at that age, if I was on a kind of a chairlift like that going up the hill, I might be a little scared too. It was a long time before I actually got on any kind of a roller coaster that was very tall. I always stuck to the smaller stuff. It's kind of a shame that this one little kid became a chaos demon for the rest of this whole trip. Story 3. It was my own Europe trip in high school. London, Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam. 1. First night in London, witnessing someone getting their face slashed open by a broken bottle in a fight in Trafalgar Square. 2. Second day in London, encountered an unalive body, homeless person in Piccadilly Circus. 3. First night in Paris, our hostel was rather close to the red light district, and as we walked past a strip club, the bouncer outside grabbed a friend's arm and tried to yank her inside. Her? 4. Second day in Paris, some kids were begging in front of the Paris Opera House, and when one guy wouldn't give a kid money, the kid punched the guy in the face and broke his nose. 5. Some of the kids went into a coffee shop in Amsterdam because we were allowed to wander by ourselves out in each city, and when we landed in Atlanta, the substance dogs alerted because the kids had traces of pot in the soles of their shoes, on the soles of their shoes. 6. In the Atlanta airport, waiting for our flight to our home city, the lead teacher fell and broke his arm and busted up her face pretty badly. So when we got off the plane in our hometown, the parents were horrified to see our teacher being pushed down the concourse in a wheelchair, looking quite worse for wear. This needs to be a movie. That's your outline for the movie right there. It is like the worst abroad trip I think I have quite read. Did anyone else get injured besides the teacher? And it just sounds like they encountered just the worst of London and Paris and everything. Although, wait a minute, the girl almost getting yanked into a strip club. Hopefully that didn't mean that they were trying to force this girl into service. That would have been awful. What were they trying to do there? Was there any teachers watching this girl at the time when they were passing? No, that's right, because that said that they were walking past by and they were allowed to wander around on their own. So no, I think they might want to revise that policy. Story 4. I'm not a teacher, but there are lots of things that happened on the 8th grade trip to D.C. My friends and I almost got lost because everyone was in front of us, and we got stopped because of a guy directing traffic. He let the cars go for maybe up to 3 minutes, despite seeing nervous 13 and 14-year-olds almost getting lost. Another time, there was a woman yelling at a cop right next to the bus. Another time, we were leaving an ice cream place to get on the bus. There was so much traffic, and we were just waiting for 1 to 2 hours. It was so bad that people were recording it because it was usually never that bad. The tour guide literally had to get out of the car and yell at people in cars and direct traffic. Another time, we couldn't go to Arlington Cemetery for a while because a bag was left there, and everyone had to evacuate because it was suspicious. Since that was delayed, we went to the 9/11 memorial. When we were just about to leave the memorial, the police told us to stay there because there was more suspicious activity or something. I was on the verge of having panic attacks many times, but thank God they never turned into actual panic attacks. Story 5. Our bus driver stopped on train tracks as a train was coming. Our bus, full of first graders, was approaching train tracks as the light flashed and the gate started to lower. Our driver decided not to stop at the tracks, like any bus should by law, and thought maybe she could beat the lowering arms. She realized she couldn't and braked on the track, the first of two. The gate arm slammed onto our bus, and a man stopped at a red light, got out of his car to lift it off my side of the bus. I panicked from the first seat as the incoming train whistled, and the parent chaperones and I screamed at her to move back. She kept saying, "I can't go in reverse." She had no panic in her voice at all. Thankfully, the train came on the second track. I can't remember if she actually backed up or not. I was absolutely traumatized and spent the beginning of the trip on the phone with transportation. They sent us another driver for the way home, and our original driver sat awkwardly in the front seat. We take the same trip every year, and every year I cringe when we cross the tracks. Oh God, I'd say that gave you nightmares. Story 1. Mine is a painful memory to relive, but I'll do it for the sake of this thread. Me and my then university roommate shared this tiny room with one double-decker bed, a cupboard, 2 tables, and a mirror. The mirror is depressingly important in this story. It was opposite the bed so that I, sleeping on the top bunk, could actually see what my roommate was doing under. You know where this is going. So one day, I woke up to this horrible squelching sound. In my mind, I knew what it was. I just didn't want to entertain the idea. It must not be that. It can't be. Furtively, I glanced at the mirror, knowing that the reflection would take a little bit of my soul. Sure enough, it was my roommate, under my bunk, furiously self-stimulating in his boxers. I've never seen anyone take off that feverishly. It was almost beautiful in some sick, perverse way. Okay, so the problem was that he kept doing this. I kept waking up to the sound of a guy who watches Matrix Reloaded daily, frantically stimulating in his boxers. Even worse, sometimes he'd let out an sound that chills me to this very day. I cannot watch Japanese porn because of him. I didn't know what to do. Should I accept my fate and consider his morning activities as some kind of cruel alarm clock? One fateful day, I was woken up to the usual squelching sound, and I decided that I had to do something about it. I just cleared my throat. He immediately stopped, and it was then that he knew I knew. We never spoke again, and he moved the following semester. You sucker, I know you're on here. If you're reading this, I'm gonna come stimulate in front of you one day, drunk. Mongrel. Should have started moaning harder than him. If the other person feels even more awkward than you do, you win. Good strategy if all it took was some sort of vocalization to get him to stop. Might as well take a little bit of fun with it. How did this person not see? Probably he couldn't see the guy in the upper bunk. I mean, why did he... Well, I know why he kept doing it. We all know. Maybe just put up some sort of curtains on the bottom bunk at least? I mean, did he not just even go under the covers? Have some bit of privacy? How could he not know? I mean, I don't get it. You just... Ugh. And of course, squelching. I will never hear that word the same again. Squelching is kind of ruined for me now. Story 2. I wish I had employed a similar passive-aggressive tactic on the guy who sits directly behind me. He's insanely annoying such that he's infamously never sat with his actual team. They rush to fill any seats that come free. And there's a long list of people who've said, "If you sit near him, I will quit." Seriously. Highlights include, he seems to have old smoker's lung or throat problems such that his voice always escapes as a gurgled squeal. He can't help that, but he shouts, of course, so it's akin to sharing the room with a banshee. He spends hours per day cramming Bombay mix into his mouth. He then chews it with his front teeth for maximum crunch volume. He still uses the phone or shouts at people while eating. Farts openly and often. Has an incredibly loud and annoying SMS receive tone, which, needless to say, is triggered several times per hour. Sometimes many times a minute, as he conducts some of his extracurricular activities exclusively by SMS. Of course, his desk phone habits are annoying too. Keypad tone set to on, volume set to max, and he opens many conversations using the speaker setting. He has dozens of keys, plus his security tags, etc., on a long chain, which he slaps and drags about on his desk like a freaking poltergeist. That's right, he's a banshee and a poltergeist. I cracked after weeks of this and told him to shut the hell up on a Friday morning when he was screeching at his team opposite solidly for an hour, telling his version of what passes for jokes. He responded with abuse, so I went unpunished, but I still know I made a mistake being aggressive and swearing at work. On second thought, I wish I'd unalived him with a stapler. Yep, people are going to say on here, why don't you just confront the person directly to a lot of these stories? I guess in this one, nothing got done. Maybe being passive-aggressive or just, I wouldn't call it passive-aggressive. Just drop a small hint. Let them know. Then, if they don't take that hint, then maybe escalate the situation to a more confrontation in person, face-to-face or something. Maybe that's the way to do it. Not everybody will appreciate just full-on bluntness. It sounds like this guy just had no way out of this at all. Hopefully he was able to move away from it. Story 3. My roommate's girlfriend moved in even though we agreed she wouldn't. If she did, then she would have to pitch in for utilities. They haven't so far. She's messy, slams the door at night, etc. But the one thing that bugs me to death is this. They began hoarding their TP. Now, I'm all for sharing and whatnot, and I bought a 24-pack when we first moved in. The two of us, being male, we go through maybe one roll every 2-3 weeks. Now that she's moved in, we've gone through the 24-pack in 2 months. I went ahead and bought another 6-pack, all gone. I decided to stop buying TP in hopes they would start buying some. Last week, we ran out of TP. Fine, I'll buy a single roll from the gas station. Gone in 3 days. Fine, I'll get another one. Gone in 3 days. Again. Finally, in the morning, I realized no more TP. Fine. However, I noticed her going to the bathroom and I snickered, thinking that she doesn't have any TP. Nope. They bring their own TP to the bathroom. Too long didn't read? Roommate's unwanted girlfriend moved in with us, used up all the toilet paper, and is now hoarding her own, taking her own roll from their room to the bathroom. This would be fine, but whenever I replace the roll, she'll use all of mine up. Note, I haven't said anything because I'm moving out in December, and really, I don't care to confront over TP. I used to work for an ad agency where they had a commercial that took place in a big box store, like Costco or one of those warehouse type things. And one of the props was this ridiculously gigantic roll, like package of toilet paper, something like 100 to this roll, just huge. And this place was small, so they had a habit of bringing some of the props from commercials into the ad agency. It was brought in to be on display, and during lunch, everybody was saying, "Oh, I'm going to steal some to take home." But it wasn't real. It wasn't paper or anything at all. It was actually styrofoam that was cut into rolls to look like toilet paper, and everyone was so disappointed. It just goes to show how very valuable TP can get if you haven't been alive or active during the past few months of the pandemic for some reason. Story 4. In college, I had the worst roommate. She would stay up all night, sleep all day long, and dramatically sigh or groan if I accidentally woke her up by, being in my room during the day. She also could not shut up for 5 minutes at a time. She literally wandered around our room muttering to herself mostly the F word and JC. And if she wasn't doing that, she was sighing and groaning and slamming drawers shut. She also left food that should have been refrigerated out on her desk for weeks at a time, including stacks of burgers still in their paper wrapping. It smelled. Anyway, she mentioned once how she hated living in the dorms because she couldn't smoke in there. I casually brought up how my last roommate broke her contract and moved into a house mid-semester, and she just loved it. New roommate got excited and started to look into getting an apartment. What I didn't mention was that it cost $1,000 plus that month's dorm fee to break said contract. And apparently, she managed to sign up for this without noticing that fine print either, because for about a week after, she had screaming matches on the phone with her mom about the money. A week later, she was gone, and I had the room to myself for the rest of the semester. It was great. I would feel bad, but living with a Tourette's-ridden burger hoarder was too much for me. Story 5. I posted this before, but I'll post it again because it really was the most passive-aggressive thing I've ever done. At my first apartment, I had an absolute butthole of an upstairs neighbor. He would be up till 3 a.m. playing music really loudly, then wake up at 6 a.m. and take a shower. Of course, being an old complex, I could hear his water and the pipes groaning every morning. I gave up complaining to the manager, such a nice old man but not capable of dealing with conflict, after about 2 months of it. Now, Butthole upstairs had a white pickup that he parked at the end of the units right outside my bedroom window. He kept all his work gear, he was a house painter and gutter repairman as best I can tell, in the truck overnight, without any cover over the bed or his gear. So I invested in a little bird feeder to hang outside my window next to his truck. For the first week, I only put seed mix in it. After that, for the rest of the year I lived there, I put a mix of dried blueberries, cranberries, cherries, and unhulled sunflower seeds in the feeder. It was expensive, but it was so worth it to see his white pickup and all of his ladders, gloves, paint trays, rollers, and tools covered in berry bird poop. Yeah. Passive-aggressive? Yes. Worth it? Oh, yes. Story 1. So I worked retail, and we got this guy named something like Gus. My boss tells me, hey, this guy's got anxiety. Go easy on him, okay? And so I was like, okay, that's cool. I get it. I can relate. I do everything I can to help him make sense of this infernal, godforsaken hellscape that is retail. It starts off with little forgivable things. Forgetting a task here, forgetting things there, accidentally giving the wrong info, and things like that. You know, newbie retail stuff like that. He quickly devolved in popularity as his complacency grew over time and his helpful attitude shrank. My guy started messing around during his shift, getting caught on his phone while ignoring backup cashier calls and things like that. He would make stabbing motions behind the manager's back to other employees, tell off new employees, and play it all off like he was some innocent dope who didn't know any better. None of this got him fired. Day after day, there was a new complaint from an employee about responsibilities he shirked, or a customer about blatantly wrong info like, oh yeah, we have another location up on the hill, and we didn't. No idea whose son he was, because that was apparently all kosher. What actually got him fired is the one day he brought a dog and a super expensive dog collar into work. He claimed he almost hit the dog on the way to work and it was running around wild, etc., etc. He tried to sell the dog collar to a customer, then tried to adopt out the dog to a coworker. This coworker was competent enough to take the dog to a vet, whereupon they found a microchip and contacted the actual owners. That's where the fun started. It came out that Gus never found the dog at all. He straight up kidnapped this dog from his neighbor and tried to pawn it off, knowing full well what he was doing. The guy lawyered up immediately, tried to sue Gus, and threatened to sue the store and the store manager if Gus wasn't fired. Suffice to say, Gus was gone that very same evening. Nothing else came of it, but we talked about him for years and years. This is probably one of the better workplace stories I've heard in a while. Do you think this guy was related to someone in the company? It sounds like he got second, third, up to seventh and eighth chances on this job. How did he get away with kidnapping a dog from his neighbor? Did he have some sort of dispute with his neighbor? Was this some sort of weird plan for revenge? It would be even weirder if it turned out that this store wasn't a pet store. Story 2. I've got a lot of these. Customer complained that the employee was stealing. Didn't believe it at first. The gayest man I've ever known was stealing Playboy magazines. No idea why. Got caught with him. Multiple copies of the same issue. Fired. One employee was spotted by a customer pleasuring himself on the roof before the store opened. Also used a magazine. Didn't believe it. Staked out the roof. Turned out to be true. Fired. One customer told me the bookkeeper is up to something because she didn't get a receipt for a space she rented. Didn't believe it. Turns out, this employee was pocketing a few hundred at a time when a vendor paid in cash. Was doing all kinds of embezzling that wasn't easy to catch. Fired. Jailed. One customer walked in on an employee who was self-pleasuring. There was a lock on the door. Lock not used. Fired. Customers spotted a receipt showing a coupon when they paid cash. Coupon code should have been cleared out of the system years before. It was a 100% off coupon. This employee made an extra $100 or so per shift. Fired. Jailed. Mystery as to how they found the coupon code. One customer found a camera in the women's restroom. I knew right away who it was. Staked out the camera feed until I saw him go in. Fired. Jail. One customer was hugged by an employee. No idea why. It was the employee's first day. Fired. One customer spotted a security guard selling M substance to his friends. He had been selling M substance and other substances on his shift for over a year. Added bonus when they got rid of him, thefts went way down. One customer complained an employee pointed and laughed when an old lady fell. Reviewed the tape. It was pretty pronounced. She had tripped on an end cap, fell, and wasn't able to get herself up. He was pointing and laughing for a while. When someone else helped her up, he was berated about doing nothing. Not fired, though. What is the turnover on this company? And what is this company doing anyway? Is this some sort of warehouse? There's just a lot of empty space where people think they can get away with anything. And where was this 100% off coupon? I'd like to know that mystery too. Who put it in there in the first place? Did they actually just get rid of it from the system? Story 3. Many years ago, the bookshop I worked at hired a new employee with terminal cancer. Very sad, since she was quite young. She wasn't around too much due to the chemotherapy, etc. But when she was in, she worked in the children's department. She was actually a pretty good children's bookseller and was a huge fan of a fairly major American children's author. She ran the UK branch of his fan club and knew him personally. He occasionally flew her out to the States for events. One day, she wasn't in, and all employees were called to a staff meeting. We were informed that she had passed away. There was a lot of sadness. Her close colleagues were devastated. Only a few days later, one of our staff happened to go into a branch of McDonald's in a nearby town. Guess who was working behind the counter? Go on, guess. Turns out she was never ill. She had made the whole cancer thing up, as well as faking her own perishing for reasons that we never really fully understood. The general consensus was that it started out as a way to connect with her author hero and kind of spiraled from there. In the end, she couldn't handle living the lie anymore, and so just up and had her mother tell people that she'd expired, and then got a job in Mackie D's a few miles down the road and was surprised when she found out. That was pretty what the hell sort of experience for us all. Only a few miles down? I know this is the UK, and sometimes distances between places are a little more insurmountable than in the US. I just couldn't believe that she would think just a few miles down the road, though, where she was working, would be enough to be hiding out. Did she even wear a wig at all or something? Don't even know. Story 4. I managed a girl who was a loose cannon. She was an alcoholic who had multiple appointments every week. Psych, physio, solicitors, all of it. She was constantly disappearing from work at random hours for like half a day, and as her drinking intensified, she would show up stinking of booze. I'm a former alcoholic and the same age, so I tried my best with her. Anyway, she was on the long stretch towards getting performance managed, but she sped it up herself. We shared a building with the council and knew all of the staff, including the council rangers who patrol the streets, give tickets, etc. One morning on the way to work, she saw a street sign she wanted to take to give to a friend. Cannot tell you why. She pulled a screwdriver from her bag, why she had it again cannot say, and unscrewed it while standing on a milk crate in front of one of the rangers. She brought it into the office, told everyone, asked another staff member to hide it for her in case a ranger came looking, then also put photos of it on Instagram with the office and company signage in the background. We had a meeting planned that day about her absenteeism, and she told me because she thought it was a good laugh. Anyway, it took a few days, but she quit when HR started investigating. Story 5. I just fired an intern because he thought it'd be funny to smack one of the girls on the butt. Upon further investigation, she had been having anxiety coming to work because he would ask all sorts of ridiculously inappropriate questions. For example, he asked her if she had a good weekend. She told him it was a good weekend, or some plain answer, and he then asked her if it was because she smashed her boyfriend a lot. Needless to say, her anxiety was warranted, and we fired him as soon as we could. The mood in my group seemed a bit more relaxed this week. I always hate this. There's the generic plays nice with others skill that's difficult to measure, but can absolutely tank a team's productivity and morale. It gets increasingly difficult to manage when the person is an otherwise good worker in measurable aspects and senior management/AR only have anecdotal things about the person being unpleasant to go on. Story 1. When I was a kid, my mom told me my rabbit Rosie went to live on a farm. In my early 20s, I saw an episode of The Sopranos where everyone makes fun of Tony when he realizes his dog didn't really go to live on a farm. That's when I realized Rosie had not gone to a farm either. Edit. I would like to officially apologize for the cascading wave of terrible realizations my post has caused. Truly, we sit on the throne of lies. Edit 2. It turns out a lot of animals really do get to go live on the farm from the responses here, so that's cool. Oh man, I dated a girl once who started telling me about her old dog who went to live on a farm. I didn't even say anything, but just the look on my face made her stop and think about it for the first time and go, oh no. We had a good laugh about that, but it was pretty wild to see the realization in real time. If it makes you feel any better, I lived on a farm as a kid and took in 2 rabbits. One of my mom's friends was sick of her kids having rabbits, so I got them. They lived a good life. I used to bring them all of the butt ends of any vegetables my mom chopped up, and I gave them a lot of ice cubes in the summer. They didn't like to be petted, but they seemed to like it when I read to them. Oh my God, I just realized the same thing with my bunnies. Was told we had to give them away for some reason, and never thought anything about it. I knew they would have to be unalive by now, just didn't realize they perished back then. I was in high school, but at home sick watching some terrible made-for-TV movie. The boy's dog had to be put down, and the parents said he went to live on a farm. And I was like, wait, is that what happened to my parrot 10 years ago? They sent him to the local parrot farm to be a farm parrot. There's an episode of Friends where they make fun of Ross for believing the family dog went to live on a farm. I watched the show with my wife a few years ago. Ross and I came to the same cruel realization at the same time. Oh my God, Chi-Chi! My mom has a very old cat, and she lives in an area that could technically be called a farm. So my cat, her cat, has lived the good life for quite a while and is already on the farm. So if she passes away, she's already there. Story 2. For a long time, I thought to bust a nut, we'll see if that passes the algorithm, meant that you were going to kick a guy in the spheres or beat him up. So anytime I was getting worked up or angry talking about some guy, I would say, I'm going to bust his complete nut, not knowing the real meaning. Nobody ever said anything, but it was always followed by my friends laughing, so I assumed it was because I was being dramatic. Years go by, and my coworker is telling me about some rude person he met, and I said, you should definitely bust that guy's nut. To which he paused and said, do you know what that means? Suffice it to say, I was extremely embarrassed and horrified when he explained it to me. Similarly, I have a friend who didn't know what friends with benefits meant. She thought it meant like a friend from work who is literally beneficial to your work. I had a boss that was under the impression that bust a nut meant to work extremely hard. Suffice to say, our team meeting ended awkwardly when Sean would tell all of us to go bust a nut after the meeting. English is fun. Busting your butt totally means to work hard. Meanwhile, breaking my orbs means what OP thinks. A lot of sayings seem to be centered around damaging body parts. Busting your butt, breaking your spheres, breaking a leg, busting a nut. What other ones can you think of? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Story 3. The first time I visited the USA, I was on my own and in New York and going to all the museums. I kept seeing signs that said no strollers and thought, because we call strollers prams in the UK, that you guys are super strict about the proper amount of attention required to visit a museum. I actually pretended to show more interest than I had in order not to be thought of as some deadbeat out for a casual stroll. It wasn't until about day 3 that I saw a no stroller sign that included a graphic for idiots. On my first visit to the States, I went to a supermarket on my own, and at the checkout, the lady asked me, paper or plastic? And I didn't know what she meant, so I said, I have cash. And she very politely didn't tell me I was an idiot. She was in fact asking what type of carrier bags I wanted my shopping put in, instead of how I was going to pay. I'm a Brit who got sucked into a holiday job doing door-to-door sales for an MLM company in the U.S. All the doors with signs saying no solicitors confused me, as I was neither an attorney or a rent boy, so I figured I was in the clear. Fortunately, the local police took an afternoon out of my day to explain. Yes, English and Americans. We share a same language, but vastly different meanings. Story 4. That big ship's wheel I got to turn as a kid was not actually controlling the cruise ship. This jogged my memory of something. When I was around 13, I was on a flight with a bunch of other kids. I fell asleep during the flight, but woke up during some turbulence. A couple of kids near me saw me wake up startled and made a big show of saying, "Whoa, I can't believe the pilot did a barrel roll." A few other people I talked to about it confirmed it, and it took me embarrassingly far into adulthood to realize some people were just messing with me. I mean, a pilot on a commercial flight wouldn't do that, right? Not with passengers, but amazingly, It has been done with an airliner. At a demonstration for industry officials, Boeing test pilot Tex Johnson was demonstrating the Boeing 707. Basically, his job was to persuade them to invest in the aircraft. Well, he was meant to do a simple flyover, but he did a barrel roll. Apparently, when his boss asked him incredulously, "What did you think you were doing?" he responded, "Selling the airplane." Fair enough. Story 5. This girl I know has a dog named Dog. 2 years into knowing her and being around Dog, I was having a conversation with her sister-in-law and I said, "I love the name Dog. How did she come up with that?" Her sister-in-law responds, "Dog." And I said, "Yeah, it's a neat name." She started laughing and said, "No, D-O-G. That's the way you spell dog." I'm still mind blown about this. We got a chocolate Labrador quite a few years ago. My dad had been known to name animals after what species they are. This time around, my mom wouldn't let him name the dog Dog, so he named her Kitty. He also named his horse No Name. This is why we don't let him name animals anymore. I know someone whose dog was named Espiote. S-P-O-T. Spot. Story 6. Oh, this was a couple of years ago, but it was something I realized way too late in life. You're supposed to use the towel to dry yourself after a shower. I was just wrapping it around myself and sitting and walking around in it until I air dried. Last time I remember this question asked, there was a guy that didn't realize you could wait until the water got hot to get in the shower. He hated how it always starts so cold. I'm 16 and didn't realize until a month ago you don't have to turn sinks up all the way. Water always splashed me when I washed my hands. And I complained to a friend and she said, "Just turn the handle halfway then?" My life has gone uphill from there, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. I've only recently just started using washcloths when I shower, and it's amazing how useful they are. You just use the washcloth to lather up with the soap lasts longer, soap stays clear of any scum or stubble, and I just feel a lot cleaner now. It's amazing. Story 1. Fighting/yelling/hostility in relationships with my significant other. It could very well stem from my childhood, I guess. It's not to say we don't have disagreements or the relationship is flawless, but obstacles always have been resolved without much issue. Fortunately, this held true with all of my romantic relationships. I've always lived by the saying, conflict is inevitable, fighting is optional. My God, yes. People all around me think it's normal or even desirable, and I'm horrified when I see them screaming at each other and saying stuff designed to hurt the other person. Yeah, I don't get it either. How can you feel the need to hurt the person you supposedly care for just to get a point across? Words can be devastating, and they can't be retracted. Someone told me my husband and I had to have a screaming fight before we got married, or we'd get divorced after our first screaming fight because we wouldn't know how to handle it. We've been married for 6 years, have 2 kids, and 1 on the way. We have never had a screaming fight. Do we have a disagreement? Yes. Have we gotten frustrated with each other? Yes. But we do not scream. That's not going to accomplish anything. Taking some time to organize our thoughts and eat some humble pie and then talking about it is what helps us. I can't imagine screaming at my husband, and he's been with me through 2 labors. That hostility makes me so uncomfortable. Why do people treat those they love so horrible? This one. Everyone's like, all couples fight. No. No, they don't. Not what most people picture as a fight, anyway. And there is a difference between those who still sort their issues just constructively, and not what one would register as a fight to anyone, and those who just don't sort anything. I was in the latter situation when I was married. That wasn't good. I'd basically realized nothing was ever going to improve, so I stopped bringing up the things I needed. I'm in the former situation now. It's great. My partner and I sort things, bring things up with each other, etc. We just don't get all offended that the other person has needs or raise our voice to each other or anything like that. I dated one guy in the past who thought big screaming, insult-laden fights were normal, and I've never found anything as startling in my life as the first time he lit into me like that. I think I just sat there and waited for him to stop yelling and then said, "Who even talks to another person that way?" Which only made him madder. Of course, the situation did not last. That was a given. I agree. I don't get it either. I'm not saying stifle your emotions just to save face or something like that. Maybe you do get emotional when you're in disagreement. If something is making you so mad that you cannot contain yourself, though, maybe that's something that still needs some self-reflection for you to figure out. I think it's good just to take some time to calm down and discuss things rationally and not get over emotional. Maybe some people think because they're so angry and are able to yell that there's passion in the relationship. I don't think I agree with that, though. Story 2. Taking and sharing pictures of everything. Except for when I'm traveling, I take like maybe 20 pics a year. My boyfriend is like this. He very rarely takes pictures. I used to be too, but I lost someone last year, and I realized I didn't have one picture with them, and it broke my heart. So I promised myself that I'd take more pictures. I don't understand people that take pictures of everything, but I do try to capture moments. Not to post on social media, but just so I have them if I ever lost that person. This is going to sound crazy, but I've started taking tons of extra pictures of my kitty cat for this reason. She's almost 14 years old, and though she's still healthy, I know her years are numbered and I want as many memories of her as possible. I used to be like this. Then you realize how much you forget as life goes on. Sometimes someone leaves you or passes away, and you realize you don't have much to remember them by. You say you'll have those memories of good times in your head, but most won't last. 10 years later, you'll struggle to remember. Life is precious. Life is fun. It's nice to occasionally stroll memory lane and remember the good times, but you can't if you don't take pictures. I lost my mother at the end of November. Not long after, I went searching on my phone for photos and videos of her, only to find that I barely have any. I miss her face and her voice a lot. I think we are fortunate to live in a time where we have digital cameras and digital photos. We have the space to store enormous amounts of information. I know personally, because I do videos and voiceover, I have to take a lot of pictures and keep up with social media, but I think there's a happy medium for other people. There doesn't have to be a whole ton of pictures, but maybe take a little more. It doesn't take that much to store it, and you will have a lot of memories for later on, after those times have passed. Story 3. Loving and wanting to spend time with your family. Had a terrible, awful childhood. As an adult, just lots of toxic interactions whenever anyone from my family got involved in my life, so all cut off. When I see people posting about their family and how much they love them, I just don't understand it. I don't understand my fiancé missing his mom, etc. I know I'm the anomaly, but I just can't relate in any way. I understand why people love their family, but for me, it's people who hate their family and still talk to them. Read it on here all the time. My parents demanded I name my child something or they'll disown me. Or, my family spent all my inheritance and said tough luck. Why even have those people in your life? Family, or not people who abuse and disrespect you, don't deserve your mental and emotional energy. Yet people continue to subjugate themselves to them, and I will never understand it. Because there's such a strong social stigma against separating from your family, even at adulthood. I feel like a hateful, awful person because I find my mom a burden. People who don't get it. Additionally, it would ruin relationships with my siblings, as their response to the trauma is to seek out drama and take care of our mom as though she were their child. Having a mom who loves you? Sounds fake. My husband calls his mom every few days for a chat, and even now I find it odd that he enjoys talking with her. I'm glad they have a good relationship, but I can't relate. I think this one is very specific. I'm sure we all have our issues with our family. I would be kind of interested in meeting the person who has no issues with their family. But it's, for me, a little bit sad that they don't have that kind of connection. I would hope that that person has a connection with other people that they've chosen to be a kind of a chosen family. I hope that they don't have any miscommunications or any disconnect with just everyone. Hopefully they have someone they can connect with. Maybe it's not their family, but it's the one they chose. Story 4. Running a brush through my hair. I have very curly hair, so only finger brush it when it's wet, which isn't often. Seeing people grab a brush and run it through their hair when they've been in the wind or just to freshen up? I wish. I have to brush it in the shower because it's just too curly and thick to do anything with. My sister, whose hair's like her father's and would never understand the struggle, grabbed a round hairbrush one day and thought it would be funny to put it in my hair. It got stuck, and I just sat there and cried. Another time when I was really young, my aunt, who was my father's whiter half-sister, decided to put little tiny buns all over my head with newspaper elastics that ended up getting stuck and ripping out my hair. I literally bled because of it. Ouch. My dad is who I got my curls from, and so he knew to brush from the tips to the roots, whereas my mom didn't and would try getting a brush through from root to tip. I once had a hairdresser brush my hair while it was dry, and I was holding back tears the whole time. I was too shy to say anything. Then there was always kids at school wanting to straighten it. Story 5. Not voicing your discomfort in certain situations. Too often I see that things could be solved if someone just spoke up, but it baffles me when they don't. Sometimes people grow up in environments where their voice was always shot down, so they can't notice their own discomfort. So one day I was stressed because I had an awful day at work, and I had very limited time before my evening classes to prepare dinner and clean the kitchen, and my husband had the audacity to be upset because I didn't have time to eat dinner with him. I apologized to him and cried, but could not understand why I was upset. I could only think it was not his fault and I was sorry for him. Putting others' wants ahead of our own needs sometimes is encouraged since childhood, that it's very difficult to notice our own discomfort. I have bad social anxiety and don't like to rock the boat. It's like a physical pain, even thinking about speaking up in some situations, because I don't want to make anyone feel bad, even if it makes me feel bad. Story 1. Being an extra in a movie. Now, it can be super fun. I especially love historical and post-apocalyptic sci-fi fantasy type stuff. But a typical day on set wasn't what I thought it'd be when I started doing it. Often, we have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to holding, and if you're a minute late to check in, sometimes they'll kick you out. Then we sit around in holding with sometimes hundreds of other extras, and we're usually sitting there for a good 3 or 4 hours before they start telling us to get ready to film. During this time, we go through long wardrobe, hair, and makeup lines where they reuse clothes, unless you bring them yourself, brushes and makeup, without washing them. When we finally get to film, it's often the same mundane motions over and over. Exceptions, of course, and those are always fun. Then we either get shuffled around or go back to holding. Several more hours pass, and we go film again. Hungry? You get lunch 6 hours after your call time, and usually a meager supply of snacks. In between takes, it's more standing around, often in heat or rain, or we all get shuffled into cramped spaces to wait. Days on set are often more than 12 hours, and I know someone who had to be on set for 26 hours straight. They can legally hold you there until they declared filming is done, so don't make plans for the next day. Not to mention that you rarely see yourself in the final cut. I'm not trying to bash other background actors or the film industry, because I've met lots of awesome people and gotten to do some pretty cool things. For example, interacting with main actors in scenes, running around in the woods with fake guns, or being a zombie. But when I did my first job as a teen, I definitely thought it would be a lot different. Edit to add. Like others mentioned, I'm not part of the SAG union, and extras who are do indeed get treated better, more perks. Also, it may be different in Hollywood. I've only worked in Georgia. I've also been a stand-in, and I like that a lot better because you're treated as the crew rather than, well, as an extra. I mentioned this before, but when I was driving in LA, there was a guy who worked as an extra, and he broke down the whole process to me about how to get into doing it and how it was similar to kind of the people that usually stand outside the Home Depot looking for people to pick them up to do odd jobs. It's really similar in that way. But yeah, I never got into it. I kind of regret not actually giving it at least a shot. Story 2. Working in an animal shelter. For sure, it's probably less intense than zookeeping, but the amount of people who apply or volunteer expecting to come in and play with cute puppies all day is absurd. We're basically animal maids. You deal with animals of all sorts of behavioral and developmental stages, pooping and peeing every total wear, and then you look over and this total dog named Chumbawamba swimming in his water bowl, so you gotta fill that up 6 times and dry his kennel out, and then you go and mop up the cat room around 10 kittens who want to eat your mop, and also 4 children who are all yelling that there's puke in the floor and I must clean it now. Not to mention all the extra behind-the-scenes work that the public never sees. How in the summer, during kitten and puppy season, the shelter built to house 500 max has 750, and I didn't take a lunch or sit at all for any of my shifts for the past 6 days. How the courts force us to put down animals that we know can be rehabilitated, but we don't get enough funding to fight it. How animal control just showed up with the 4th pregnant stray of the week, but intake is full and even double stacked in some cases, so your coworker fosters the cats on her own. Not to mention the totally awful people who do dumb stuff and end up getting bit or scratched, and the animal is the one who bears the consequences. I am the proudest shelter worker in the world. I adore my job, even at its hardest. I didn't sit around for 9.5 hours today, and I found a cat turd in the cuff of my jeans, but it doesn't matter, because a bonded pair of adult cats got adopted today. I took 6 applications this morning, and the cat in Bank 4 with a goopy eye is already looking better, and we sent a mama out to foster. The hard work is always worth it for these babies. I wonder about the no-kill shelters. I've heard about those in LA. There's always people that are touting themselves as the no unaliving shelters. I wonder if the courts force them to do anything, despite them being sold as no unaliving shelters. That's the one thing I've kind of wondered about. Do they have some special sort of thing going on with the law where they're not allowed or not required to do that? And what happens? Do they just stop accepting animals? Or do they actually have to farm them out to other shelters that actually do unalive like that? Story 3. Zookeeper. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome to be around so many amazing animals and care for them, but the smell is ridiculously, insanely foul. I have a really strong stomach, and it's still tough for me. We've had some interns quit over it. I always warned about the smells when getting into that field. but thought, oh, I've volunteered at animal shelters. I know what animal stink smells like. Nope, not even close. Vultures. Their puke can melt metal and repel lions. It's hands down the worst thing I've ever experienced in my 30-plus years on this planet. There are just no words to describe the pure, molten, hot, rotting diaper stench that is vulture vomit. Penguins. Fishy, oily bird stink. They're cute, though, so they get a pass. Anteaters with diarrhea. Insect-based watery poops are horrid. Otters. I don't think I know a single person who works with otters who's not bothered by the smell. They're related to ferrets, so they have super strong musk, way stronger than ferrets, and smear it everywhere. They also eat nothing but fish, and you can really smell it in their oily, gooey poop. Big cats. Out in the open, it's not so bad, but I've thrown up in the night houses or rain shelters before. Huge 6-pound piles of cat poops all over the floor with no litter to mask the smell. Unneutered male lions will spray, too, like a cat. One lion makes enough spray to make the whole place smell like a cat hoarder's house. That's the truth. I've been a keeper for 10 years and recently became a department director and was surprised how much of a problem we have with this with the new keepers and interns. I've had to constantly tell some of them, yes, you do actually have to clean up the otter poop. Yes, I know it's slimy and smells like rotten fish. That's how an otter works. No, you can't take an hour break to shower 3 times just because you slipped in the sick cheetah's diarrhea/puke. Go wipe it off and get back to work. I remember going to the zoo, and I remember the smell when I went there before. I couldn't even imagine how much more that's amplified. I don't think I can even fathom what kind of odors these people are being assaulted with. And I've also been at animal shelters before. I can actually feel for how these people must have to deal with all this stuff. Do they not even provide any kind of nose plugs or protection or anything? Is that even allowed? Story 4. Working in a music store, musical instruments. Your days are spent listening to 50 different people play 50 different riffs poorly simultaneously, as if they're putting on their own concert. A whole lot of Iron Man and Stairway. Some of my least favorites. Person who thinks playing well and playing loud are the same thing. Person who wants to make sure you know that they're very smart and you are very lucky to be in their presence. Person who goes to absurd lengths to test out drumsticks to make sure they're pitch matched without knowing how to execute any of those techniques. Extra points if they're just going to shred them to splinters in a week anyway. People who act like you're in their way because you're trying to do your job. People who assume you couldn't possibly know anything about the instruments you play and sell all day long. Side note, I mostly loved my time working in a music store, and I enjoy helping people, but the people who come in with aggressive egos and nasty attitudes are insufferable. Oh my goodness, same thing at a craft beer bar. No, I don't want to hear about every craft beer that you've ever had or the best craft beer in your town. No, I'm not going to tell my boss that this bar would be so much better if X. And yes, you are vastly more knowledgeable about the craft of beer than I am. Maybe, a lot of times not, because while I like people and talking to people, I really do not care about the brewing process. But I love to learn and love listening to what you have to say if you're saying it out of a true love of the craft, and not because you're trying to prove to me that you know more than I do about beer. And no, I'm not working here to hear misogynistic comments like, "If you wear a lower-cut shirt, you'll get more tips," or much worse than I've usually heard before.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.